And before we introduce our next speaker, who will speak more about the KET4F-GAS project, I would like to say that F-gases are normally used for refrigeration, cooling purposes, as well as in sprays and other products. They are not very inflammable or reactive, but they have a high potential to exert influence on global warming. Therefore, recycling and managing them properly are critical in order to reduce their environmental impact. So the climate emergency has put forward this, or has triggered off all the alarms in the heating and cooling sector. So the so-called F-gases that since the end of the 90s account for the #1 alternative to the substances that cause ozone depletion have been in the spotlight of the European Commission since 2015 due to their high global warming potential that can go all the way out to 23,000 times higher than that of CO2, and also due to the high increase in their emissions over the past years. In Europe, only 1% of F-gases are collected at the end of their life cycle, even though there are some recycling units in place. In order to tackle this problem, Europe now wants to reduce emissions by controlling F-gases emissions, by replacing them with other less harmful gases before 2030. So this roadmap not only promotes research into new natural refrigerants, but have also paved the way to develop technologies to reclaim, recycle, and reuse F-gases by applying the circular economy principles. And here's where KET4F-GAS comes on stage. The purpose of this initiative is to develop and implement key enabling technologies, or KETs, in order to attain these goals. So Ana Belén Pereiro, who comes from the Universidad Nova de Lisboa, will share with us some of the key results of this initiative, and she will tell us about how we can collaborate with industry experts and other stakeholders in order to address all these challenges and propose new solutions. So Ana Belén, you have the floor, and you can start anytime you want. Good morning. During my presentation, I would like to give you a sneak peek into our project on F-gases. This project is geared to developing, designing, and implementing key enabling technologies, or KETs. Sorry, a small technical glitch. So we want to reclaim and reuse F-gases that are normally used in AC equipment. This project is coordinated by Universidad Nova from Lisbon in conjunction with several French and Spanish universities, Spanish SMEs and Portuguese SMEs, as well as public administrations and different environmental associations and federations. There are other partners who are also involved, or other associates that are working on this project and who are keen on learning on the findings of our project. So over the past years, we have been affected by the consequences of global warming, and we need to take quick action in order to mitigate the impact of global warming or climate change. So this is directly tied to the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And even though F-gases are just a small proportion or share of all greenhouse gas emissions, it's we can say that according to estimates, and fluorinated gases will account for 45% of global warming by 2050, because one molecule of F-gas has GW potential that is much higher than CO2 that can remain in the atmosphere up to 50,000 years, therefore contributing to global warming on an ongoing basis. Therefore, we need to take action in order to mitigate and reduce any emissions into the atmosphere, and this is of paramount importance. In addition, the greenhouse gases at a European level, emissions are the only ones that have grown over the past years compared to other greenhouse gas emissions. So according to European records, we are taking into account direct emissions only without considering indirect emissions derived from AC equipment and parallel economic activities. As Angela pointed out before, fluorinated gases were created in 1950 in order to replace CFCs that caused full ozone depletion, because they were not toxic, they were not inflammable, and they were not ozone depleting. But over the years, we discovered that they have a very high GWP index. However, if we avoid emissions and if they do not reach out of the atmosphere, and if technicians that use these gases are adequately trained and qualified, then compounds do not turn out to be dangerous. In addition, when speaking about refrigeration and cooling, there's no ideal solution, because most refrigerants contain some of these elements, hydrogen or fluorine or chlorine. So whenever the concentration of hydrogen goes up in refrigerants, they become more flammable. Whenever the concentration of chlorine goes up, we also increase their toxicity and their capacity to destroy the ozone layer. And when fluorine concentration is increased, global warming also goes up, and at the same time we increase the lifetime of such compounds in the atmosphere. Therefore, the mix, or the new or the 4G refrigerant solutions that blend different compounds today represent one of the best solutions, because they mitigate any of the problems that these refrigerants may pose. The goal here is to have low GWP refrigerants that do not deplete the ozone layer. The problem here is that this sector is based on a linear economy approach. Everything that is produced is used and eventually it's burned, therefore contributing to global emissions and also resulting in compounds as a result of the burning process that are also detrimental to the environment. So in our project, we have proposed to implement a circular economy approach to minimize the production of these compounds while using those that are already on the market. To this end, we have identified at a European level which are the refrigerants that are used more widely and that contain pure compounds that can add value or that can be used in producing new 4G refrigerants with a low GWP. That is, we separate and we purify F-gases, 3G refrigerants with a high GWP, with the aim of reusing them in lower concentrations to develop new 4G commercial refrigerants. Reclaimed F-gases do not need to be declared at an institutional level or from an institutional perspective. So this is an upside that favors the manufacturing sector. In addition to developing technologies to recover and separate F-gases, our project was also concerned with technology transfer, knowledge transfer, awareness campaigns, and communication campaigns in order to raise awareness about this problem in society, with the ultimate goal of attaining or mitigating the impact that F-gases can have on the atmosphere. So our project consists of a software that enables us to identify KETs and then the development of 2 prototypes. As for the software, it enables us to classify any waste that may contain F-gases. It also enables us to assess the impact of F-gases while selecting the best solutions in order to treat these compounds. So in this section, you can see all those companies that may produce a waste with F-gas content. They can use this menu in order to see which their LER code is, and that corresponds to the kind of waste residue they produce. Then we have another piece of the software that is used for compound treatment purposes. We can, for example, select the industrial brand of a particular refrigerant, or we can look it up by their full name. The software will therefore tell us whether this refrigerant is pure or whether it's a blend of different refrigerants, and the proportion of all of their ingredients. It also enables us to know which the GWP is, and then it provides us with an impact level classification according to their GWP index. Then it provides us with different treatment technologies in order to separate and reclaim F-gases. So this software is free of charge and is available on our website. The second pillar of our project is concerned with gas prototypes in order to separate compounds. These prototypes are based on absorption and membrane technologies. In order to prove the efficiency of our technologies, we use the R410A. This is one of the elements that has been used the most in AC equipment over the past years. So it's a refrigerant. So technologies have been used in order to prove R32 and R125 efficiency. These are refrigerants that are used in order to replace the R410A because the GWP of these other 2 refrigerants is much lower. All these technologies, therefore, are used in order to achieve more efficiency and a 99% purity, or what we call high R32 purity. They require little space for installation and low maintenance costs. In addition, on our website, we also provide free of charge access to manuals on best practices available to waste managers in the 4 official languages of our project: English, Portuguese, French, and Spanish. We also have a roadmap available for public administrations that are in charge of waste management. We also have different videos about the prototypes under the umbrella of our project in order to raise awareness among the different stakeholders who are engaged in this sector and in order to capitalize on the outcomes of our project. All this information is available both on our website and on YouTube. We will also update some information on our latest product catalog on the on our webpage shortly. Here we will include all financing opportunities that are available at a regional, national, and European level, as well as internationally, in order to keep on investing in R&D in this particular sector. If you wish to access further information on our project, please visit our website, and we are available to answer any questions or clarify any doubt that you may have. Thank you very much for your attention now. Thank you so much, Ana Belén, for having joined us today. And in fact, we would like to invite you to join our roundtable now that will discuss our strategy towards Circular Industry 4.0 for an efficient management of fluorinated gases. So let me now share the screen so that you can all see our panelists. We have Laurent Gauguin from the Association of Distributors, AC Recovery and Refrigerant Managers, Susana Rodriguez from the Association of Cooling Companies and their Technologies, Nuno Roque from the Portuguese Association of Businesses engaged in the thermal, energy, electronic, and environmental sectors from Portugal, and Ana Belén Pereiro from the University Nova from Lisbon. So now I would like to ask all of our panel members to select the language that you may need to participate at the roundtable. Remember that at the bottom you will find the icon to select the language that you want to follow the session through. Remember that you can activate either Spanish or English. So let me start with the first question. Is it possible to follow a circular economy model when managing F-gases and refrigerants? Perhaps this question should be addressed to Laurent.
Yes, thank you, Angela. Thank you to invite me for this meeting and this webinar. Yes, there is a model in France about recovery and circular economy since more than 20 years now in France. So it's possible to have a model, but it's a long time to have the good practice to the installers and to the end user to recover and not to mix the product because in your presentation you explained that for the R410A, for example, it's quite a zeotropic product, and it's more difficult to separate the molecule of the zeotropic blends. And if the installers recover the product and mix the product in the same bottles, it's possible to create azeotropic blends, and it's more difficult. There is a lot of impurity in the recovered product, and it's a problem for reclaim the waste. But there is a model, because today in France, installers recover the product, send it to the site for treatment, and the waste are reclaimed and re-put on the market to be reused by the installers.
Pues muchísimas gracias.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Laurent, for your insights. So very good news, as we can see. So let's move on with our next question. How is the circular economy perceived by the sector stakeholders from the viewpoint of waste managers and the industry at large? Is this the response to legislative pressure, or is this a strategic response? Ana Belén, can we start with you? Yes, of course. No problem at all.
¿Ahora me escucháis bien?
Sí.
Vale. Que claramente
So, We have been holding several meetings with different stakeholders on the topic of F-gases, and all stakeholders have expressed their interest in implementing a circular economy approach in this sphere in order to increase competitiveness
de sus empresas, ¿ok?
across businesses.
Evidentemente, la legislación lo que prohíbe es la
Regulations clearly forbid the use of certain refrigerants that may have a high GWP index, and legislation is rather complex in this matter because it depends on the number of kilograms involved, the type of equipment, and that is
deadlines para cada uno
well,
de
there
los
are clear-cut deadlines for the use of each refrigerant and each piece of equipment. Well, there are certain refrigerants that can be used, others that cannot,
pero
and there are certain restrictions on the kind of equipment where these refrigerants can be used. It's rather difficult to find solutions and implementing a circular economy approach, but that way we would be able to minimize costs and we wouldn't need to buy new refrigerants because the new refrigerants, when compared to previous ones, are much more costly, and sometimes companies do not and cannot afford either placing them in a more competitive position. So they would be more competitive if they would be able to reclaim some of the compounds that their pieces of equipment are currently using. Okay, great. Thank you so much for your insights, Anna. Now let us turn back to Laurent. Laurent, from a technological standpoint, which technologies are available in order to implement a circular model?
Today in France, there is no separate plant to reclaim the product. They will be done by one members of ADC3R, but not yet. And there is less company to be ready to do that in Europe. So for the moment, the reclaim it's only on the very poor product, very pure composition of the waste, and extract a non-condensable, extract oil, extract scraps, extract water, extract all the impurity, but not in for the mixed gases on the waste. For the moment, in a few months, it will be possible in France to separate molecule and to reclaim the product, all the product, with all the impurity.
Pues muchísimas gracias.
Well, thank you so much, Laurent. We are going to spend a little bit more time on this topic. So is this a strategic response, or is this a response to some legislative pressure? We're going to ask Nuno and Susana to jump on board and give us their opinion. So how do you perceive the circular economy from your sector? Can we start with Nuno, if you want?
Nuno, tienes el micrófono desactivado.
Perhaps Nuno's microphone is muted.
Al lado de la
Ahora.
Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the question, and thank you for the opportunity to have some reflections with you. The market and the companies, more or less, they perceive and they have the perception of the legislation. But of course, we have the ones who are in line with the regulations and with the obligations, because they are in the right side of the market. But we also have the free riders. It's something that we see all over the world, in Europe and in Portugal too. So the question, we can look at this problem by several sides, but in the end of the line, we'll see that this is a financial problem, because we need to have companies certified. We need to have the employers certified. We need to have fiscalization. We need to help the installers to do the delivery of the F-gases and the WIS, the electrical and electronic equipment in the end of life to the operator centers of waste. So what can we see? We see that companies want to answer in the right way, but it's not easy for small companies to give the same answer that SMEs can give to the process. So we have to help the smaller companies. We have to give them the instruments, the way to deliver the F-gas without pay the F-gas to the operator, the waste operator center. We in EPIRAC, we do so. We have a protocol with waste operation center to receive the WIS, paying to the installers without asking money for the delivery of the F-gas. If you don't do that, what we see is companies delivering to the free riders, to the scrap dealers, and that's why in Europe, if you say that only 2% of the F-gas is delivered for destruction or for recovery, for recycling, when we talk about WIS, for instance, less than 40% of the WIS are delivered in these kind of centers. So this is the problem. How can we do to help? What can we do to help companies to do their job? So we must qualify companies. We must qualify employers, and we must help companies to do their regular job on the delivery of the F-gas without any further costs. The flammables are a problem, but well, I must pass the word to Susana, and maybe we can talk about that in the next time. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Nuno.
Thank you very much, Nuno. Susana, you have the floor. Good morning to all of you. It's a pleasure to be here. And I understand that these workshops are essential to reach the objectives. I would like to give you another idea of circular economy in Spain, and I'm talking about my situation. The circular economy already started before 2016. It was a financial issue, yes. And this forced us to increase awareness among final users and among the manufacturers. The gas already had a tax section, and the economic circuit of gas provision could be reduced, apart from the fluctuation of all the prices. So we were forced to recover that gas. From that moment on, the gas can be regenerated or recycled. It depends on the installer
And for that purpose, as we are small and medium companies, we need to have people trained. And then we talk about regeneration, which is taking it to a waste processing system for it to come back to the system. So the regenerated gas and the virgin gas pollute the same. It's exactly the same. The 360 vision of the gas circuit, we need to stress that when recovering and regenerating the gas, we need to have a procedure, specific procedure. When we talk about regenerated gases, it minimizes the leaks because there is an audited installation, a new installation. Every time there is a recovery of gas, it must be done in a correctly maintained installation. The technology is there, is out there. We just need to not just to be in that circuit, but those activities related to it need to be involved, and the stakeholders need to implement that in their business policy or in their social corporate social responsibility. So this is not just about the economy, it's about raising awareness and strategies. So the installers need to be trained for this retrofit to recover that gas, to appropriately recover that gas. So it is completely recovered. For that purpose, people need to be perfectly trained. And the installation needs to be audited. We are preventing leaks. So we need to focus the actions around the circular economy. We can stress on the policies and incentives, but if the practice of if that use of the gas and the involvement of all the stakeholders in these closed circuits is not taken into account, then we will not meet our environmental objectives. Thank you very much, Susana, for raising awareness about all of this. Currently, we know there are restrictions and there will be more restrictions for the use of F-gases, but is the use of alternatives, environmentally friendly alternatives being promoted? Is there an objective of a circular economy? There are two questions. And these questions are addressed to all of you. Maybe Ana Belén, you would like to answer with this round? Would you like to start with this round? Yes, there are alternatives in the legislation. We need to use refrigerators with low impact on global warming, on big equipment. There are deadlines for the use of each of the refrigerating materials according to the climate change. In some countries, because of the economic pressure, in other countries because of the fact that there are internal policies boosting this. At European level, there is a legislation since 2014 that was implemented in 2016 and 17 in the different countries. That forces this type of gases to leave the market, and there are different alternatives such as natural cooling materials or mixes with different proportions to reduce the problems that may be caused, or the flammability or toxicity, or the contribution to climate warming. But I believe that, as Susanna explained, and this is clear, there is a clear investment for the regeneration and reuse of these gases, but we also need to promote this selective collection of the different wastes that permit to promote in a massive way that the gases arrive, the equipment arrive with the gases correctly to the management areas, because this is a cost for the companies, and when the companies know that they need to pay to treat that F-gas, suddenly the gas disappears from the equipment. The cars come without gas in the refrigerating system. The fridges arrive without gas in the compressors because of some type of dismantling when they arrive to the waste management areas. So the amount of gas that arrives there is very low. So we really need to promote a minimization of the presence of compounds that can contribute, because if we reduce the amount of F-gases used, then the possibility of having leaks would be lower, and as already explained in our project, what we want is to separate and reuse value-added compounds in these refrigerating materials. And for the companies, these refrigerating materials involve a cost, because if I have to manage it at a waste management area, I need to pay. And for them, this involves a cost. Administrations should promote the delivery of these compounds and in some way benefit them with incentives or reducing taxes, or so the companies can really see the positive part of recovering these types of compounds, so they don't reach the atmosphere and contribute to climate warming.
Muchísimas gracias, Ana Belén. Y voy a pasar con Laurent. Laurent, ¿cuál es la situación?
So, Laurent, what is the situation in France?
In France, there is no tax about the refrigerant, but the impact of the using a low GWP refrigerant or reused reclaimed refrigerant, it's very different regarding the different company. For the biggest company, the image is very important. So they ask to and they explain they are using more and more low GWP product and reuse their waste and reclaim the rest for the equipment. But the new way in France, that I think it's starting all over the world and specifically in Europe, it's to see the cost and the energy efficiency, not immediately and not only on the gas, but on the global system, and for 10 years, and to have a predictive maintenance, predictive after sales, and to see the cost. And if you have a good maintenance of the equipment, you can reduce the leaks, reduce the risk, and you can select more efficiency equipment and more efficiency refrigerants. Unfortunately, on the past, there is 3 refrigerants to use in refrigeration, in air conditioning, etc. And now there is no one refrigerant, magic refrigerant. There is a lot of blend of refrigerant, synthetic refrigerant or natural refrigerant. There is not magic refrigerant regarding the different applications. So the end user and the installers need to select the best refrigerant and the best energy efficiency of the global system to select it. To be honest, I'm agree with Anna that unfortunately, ecologic and if you have no impact with the cost, the end user has no real not real impact about the impact, environmental impact. The cost of the gas in the global equipment, it's more or less 10% of the price of the installation and the equipment. So there is not a real impact about it, except for the installers. But for the end users, there is no real impact about with tax or without tax. There is no effect about it. And it's very important to make some webinar, make some training to the end user and to the installers to explain that it's very important to use the product. In France, distributors and syndicate of HVAC are very implicated in this communication, and all the French associations are implicated in this communication. And usually the installers try to use low GWP product and reclaim product. There is 2 ways for reuse the product. You can reuse immediately the product, and you can reclaim the product through the site, specialist site. So it depends on the quality of the product at the origin.
Thank you very much. And Nuno, what is the situation in Portugal?
Well, recycling F-gas is too expensive. So the Portuguese companies, in Portugal, we don't have any operator who can do the recycling of F-gas. So the F-gas must be delivered for destruction. The recycling of F-gas must be done in other countries and not in Portugal. So Portuguese companies won't buy recycled F-gas, only virgin F-gas. And here we have the problem of the illegal fluid. What can we do to stop the illegal fluid? And there is a lot of illegal fluid in the market. We know, and it's registered that a lot of illegal fluid enters in Portugal by Spain, for instance, because Spain is fragile in related with the entrance of this kind of illegal fluid, but as Greece is too, and other countries. So well, as I said, we need to have more fiscalization to help the control of the process of the legal fluid. If companies are qualified and employers are qualified to do what they have to do in the handling of the fluid, the impact on the atmosphere will be less. Well, if everyone does what is supposed to be done, the impact on the environment will be a less problem that it will be if we try to do what we are doing. I've already saw, sorry, some technicians delivering the fluid to the atmosphere. I have recorded on tape. I've sent it to the Portuguese authority, and those processes, unfortunately, don't always give problems to the people who don't respond in a legal way to the regulations, because the bureaucracy is a problem in Portugal, as maybe it can be in Spain too. So I maintain what I've said. We have good regulations, we have good legislations, but we need to fiscalize more the process. We need to fiscalize more the entrance of the illegal fluid. We need to be aware of the blends that are in the markets. We need to help the companies to deliver the fluid without paying, because when we see the value chain of the HVAC and our markets, we see that the producers, they can count on the companies who do the waste management. They have the problem resolved. They buy integrated management system, and they have the problem resolved. Okay, it's done. But the problem is, it's always with installers. They are the ones who have to handle the fluid. They are the ones who have to dismantle the equipment, and they have to decide what they do with the fluids, with the end of cycle fluids. So this is the fragile point of the process. They are the ones who will have to pay the cost of the deliver. So transportation, the deliver, they have a cost, and the installers don't have any kind of help on that. So they are the ones who can assure the accomplish of the mandatory deliver and the mandatory destruction or the mandatory recycling. But with the few margins, the commercial margins that they have nowadays, it is very difficult for them to accomplish all the obligations that they have to do. This is the problem.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much, Nuno, for your point of view. Let's move to the next question. Angela, Lauren would like to talk. Yeah, Lauren, please, you have the floor.
I fully agree with Nuno about his comment. Just a compliment about it. The first step of to reduce atmosphere emission, it's to monitor all the gases. Today, we need to in France, we have global monitoring about the gases, but on the F-gas, there is not all the utilization or the put on the market monitoring, only the virgin. And if you can monitor the virgin product put on the market, the virgin product put on the equipment, recover, reuse, reclaim, and check for all the installers each year the balance of what they buy, what they use, what they send to the site for treatment, destruction or reclaim. If you check the balance, if the balance it's good, you can check and you can manage the first step about reduce emission on the atmosphere. I'm agree about the taxes and if they don't do the good practice, I'm agree with that. But the first step is monitoring and to have a possibility to cancel the license to use refrigerant if the balance is not good. Sometimes it's not necessary to have a fiscality, more fiscality about it. If you have a good monitoring, you have a good overview about the practice on the market. And it's a first step before putting more fiscality or more taxes.
Muchísimas gracias, Laurent.
Thank you very much, Laurent, for your words. And now we are moving to the next question. We are a little bit behind of schedule. Is the industry interested in implementing these alternatives? What are the barriers to transfer the research and innovation results? Maybe Susana, would you like to start? Yeah, I completely align with Nuno's words. The big barrier is the economic barrier, no matter how we think about it. If you realize that we are talking about falling again on the weakest part of the chain, the installer, we need, it's about the budget, the price, the cost, because companies need to sell. This is a business. So increasing productivity means making things more expensive. Why don't we help those who are doing things right and go for those who are doing it wrong? I'm talking about the black market, about intruders, about having the installer between a manufacturer who has the power of research and development and the final user who decides what they want to do with installation. So I'm not against the world. Companies need to live and make a living from our profit. So we cannot have more taxes, more control, because where is the final user here? The refrigeration in climate have a huge transversability. Any action of circular economy or technology implemented, imagine how much we would save in SMEs. Is this about the companies or the administration? In Spain, we have a lot of expectations on the recovery funds, on digitalization, on the green economy that is going to be funded. So we understand that given the transverse nature of the sector and in our commitment to a green Europe, we can carry out all these actions, but without damaging the weakest part of the chain, which is us, and it's always about us. So maybe the administration should not penalize, but reward those who are doing things right. And prevent the entry of unqualified people into the profession, instead of increasing the taxes to all those who are meeting the regulations. Thank you very much. I don't know if we have anybody. Yeah, Anna, I would like to add that I completely agree with all your points of view, and more specifically, I believe that all the people working on the refrigerating and air conditioning sectors have this huge pressure after the implementation of the European Union regulations, pressure given by all the bureaucracy, the control of these compounds, and clearly nobody is seeing the results of this monitoring. Maybe the public administrations should demonstrate or show that monitoring has a return and makes sense. I agree with Lauren that a integrated system is the solution, but I think this should be imposed on a European level, because with the same legislation we prove that the European legislation was implemented in a different way in Spain. Taxes were imposed, for example, and there is clearly an illegal market because compounds are being used without being declared because of these taxes. In Portugal, they have big problems too, and in France, it was implemented in a different way. So maybe Europe should promote a control monitoring since the production of the gas until its arrival to our territory, and involve all the stakeholders. So if a company is going to get a benefit, a tax reduction, let's reward people who are doing things right. If they hire technicians who are qualified and trained, and they have the capacity, a demonstrated capacity, proved capacity in this European regime, if they are qualified, they will not hire a technician who will charge less because the companies are going to be competitive. The companies with good practices and competent companies will be instead of using technicians who are unqualified and are conducting a horrible job, and they are promoting the emissions of these types of compounds. So having an integrated system, identifying the companies, the systems, the best qualified gases, there are different ways. Not just sanctions or penalties, because we should have that, because people are quite tired of having to fill in the forms, as Nuno already explained, when there is proof with videos, recordings that show that emissions are being delivered to the atmosphere. Why aren't actions being taken by the public authorities? They should take measures on this point. Thank you, Ana Belén. I don't know if anybody else would like to answer this question. Or should we close and move to, yeah? Yeah, we are about to close this session. You have in the question and answers a specific question for Susana. I don't know if you can type on the question and answers area so you can answer to this person. And well, I would like to say thank you very much for to these four guests for sharing with us the opportunities of the circular economy to reduce the impact of F-gases and all the things that need to be done. So now we will stop for 15 minutes and then we will come back to participate, those of you who are willing to do so, on a workshop called The Management of F-Gases, Problems, Challenges and Solutions, where we will analyze the main problems of managing F-gases, and we will suggest solutions for all the entire value chain of the industrial and environmental sector. So after this break, we will explain how to participate. Let's have some coffee and come back full of energy to participate in this workshop. Thank you very much.
Now we're going to share some of the conclusions that you have drawn or any proposals that you would like to put forward. Ingrid, Javier, Francisco, you were in room 2, so who would like to share the screen in order to walk us through the results of your discussion? I think that it's my turn, says Javier. Okay, so go ahead. Okay, so we tackled 2 specific matters. We spoke about good practices in managing F-gases, and we also spoke about mitigating the impact of F-gases and public policies. So let me start with topic number 2. So what about the good practices that we could apply in order to reclaim F-gases? The good news in our case is that we started out with an end user, and we would actually be on the side of refrigerant gas recovery. So this is the core business, and access to information would be one of the best practices that we could discuss. We could talk about, for example, future prohibitions, etc. At a local level, it would also be important for regulations to apply across regional governments when managing gases. We have also spoken about proper maintenance, provided that all regulations are complied with pursuant to audits. We have also spoken about installers and how to identify gases during installations. We believe that registration is very important, and we have also spoken about quality certifications as a result of reclaimed products based on the standards in place. First of all, we have proposed that an information platform be built for consultative purposes in order to increase our knowledge on the topic. We see one restriction in terms of information confidentiality, especially if we are dealing with sensitive information. And of course, we would need some financing, and we would need some kind of platform with some people being recruited for the matter. We also talked about a traceability system that should be put in place for F-gases, as it was widely discussed throughout the webinar. We also need to have some thorough checks in place, and we know that this is all very complex because there are different installers involved in reclaiming F-gases, and all this somehow makes this proposal more complex from a logistic perspective. Analysis certificates should be provided to guarantee quality. They should be issued by the providers involved in reclaiming the gases, provided that they comply with certain standards. We believe that eventually this would enable us to have better quality equipment with lower maintenance issues while increasing their efficiency. There are many things that could be improved. Right now, there are certain restrictions because in order to certify equipment under these standards, we need many resources, and there's a shortage of such resources. We also discussed public policies, so we did this a little bit more quickly. With regards to the impact of fluorinated gases, we believe that there's a problem regarding the shadow market because there are some import-export issues here. We believe that the only way to avoid this kind of situation is by applying legal penalties, and due to adequate coordination between imports and F-gas production. With regards to end users, we believe that tax benefits should be granted in order to, for example, pay not only 50% of taxes when reclaiming gases. All those companies that buy reclaimed products should also benefit further. With regards to penal or penalties, I believe that this has already been discussed. There is a significant illegal market working in the shadow that should be penalized. We believe that otherwise they would we could actually reduce impact if we tackled this market that is operating in the shadows. We also consider coordination to be important between imports and quota management. We believe that a specialized team should be appointed to take care of this gas, because we must bear in mind that F-gases have a huge environmental impact. Public entities at a national level should also be properly coordinated. As for tax cutting, I have just explained that companies that receive reclaimed products should benefit further, for example, so that end users somehow look after these installers that can provide good quality reclaimed products that are duly qualified in exchange of other benefits, and also for those reclaiming companies to benefit not only from selling gas but also from other sources. So these were the topics that we discussed. Thank you so much, Javier. I think that you did a great job, very interesting proposals, and we will certainly gather all your insights, and we will try to translate them into our project as part of our awareness raising initiative. In room 1, I worked with Laurent, Jose, and Sonia. Unfortunately, Laurent and Jose couldn't wait until the end of the seminar. However, they have entrusted me with the task of presenting the results of their discussions. I'm going to be very brief because we didn't write that much, actually. Okay, let me now share my screen. Can you all see my screen? Good. So, room 1 discussed topic number 1, the challenges for a circular model in managing F-gases. The main challenges that were identified include the need to monitor the market, because this is a highly regulated market that is not, however, duly monitored. As a result, the illegal market is still up there, up and running. Then an economic challenge was also identified, This morning we heard that SMEs find it difficult to apply circular economy models because it's very costly due to the fact that they have to bear taxes that other countries do not charge. In the case of Spain, this is particularly serious, particularly in the case of the manufacturing sectors affecting end users. And there's also lack of knowledge. Throughout the value chain, not everybody has the same level of knowledge about the technologies that can be used in order to reclaim F-gases, etc. The solutions proposed are listed here. To monitor the gas, some control and licensing system should be put in place in order to monitor F-gases. Actually, they didn't dive into the solution any further. They didn't say actually whether this should be done at a country level or at European level, but that's the main point. It would be possible to reduce virgin gases in the market, and this would also enable us to carry out some analysis about market practices. The problem is that there is an increasing number of restrictions to the use of F-gases with a high GWP index. Therefore, carrying out these controls and obtaining licenses may be complex. There are assorted gases, different types of usage, and an increasing number of restrictions. These restrictions somehow affect the way in which we can apply controls and licenses. As for the sources of financing, it's necessary to create updated databases so we can have a control and license system in place. Okay, economic solutions. We should support more efficient technologies. We have discussed this during the roundtable. So more support is needed in order to endorse more efficient technologies. Training is necessary, as we pointed out during the first part of the webinar. That is, all the personnel involved in managing these kind of substances, including installers, should be adequately trained. We also need to have predictive maintenance systems, because all these would enable us to reduce waste as well as leaks while obtaining increased efficiency. Of course, this initiative would also require some kind of economic support. This is something that companies could benefit from if they get grants from the public administrations. That's all. These are the results of the discussion about the first session. We're running out of time, so let me close by thanking you all for having attended this presentation and for the workshop as well. I hope that you have found this session very useful. I hope that you also had the chance to learn new concepts and new things, perhaps the things that you didn't know we were doing. So all these sessions have been recorded. We will make the videos available to you just in case you want to revisit some of the topics we have discussed today. We will also send you an assessment survey so that you can let us know your opinion about it, and to also let us know any improvements that you would make. And that's it. Thank you very much, and we hope that next time we organize a similar webinar, we hope that we can see you again.